Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You might already heard about the retaliatory hits, massive hits completed by the Russian military, missiles and rockets, and they hit civilian infrastructure targets in Ukraine. This is something that they promised for some time as a retaliation for crossing red lines and this blowing up the Kerch bridge, the Crimean bridge. And now they started. This is round one, according to the Russians. Round one. So let's see what's going on here. I have here an article from Ukrainska Pravda. You can find it in articles about this all over the place right now. So this is what happened with this massive attack on October 10th, 2022. Russia has launched 83 rockets so far this morning. 45 have been shot down. Vasily Zalukhny, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, reported that so far on October 10, the Russian aggressor has launched 83 missiles on Ukraine within a few hours, 45 of which were shot down by air defense. And I'm quoting Zalukhny. The Russian Federation, a terrorist country, carries out a massive missile and airstrikes on the territory of Ukraine, uses attack UAVs. It says in the morning the aggressor launched 75 rockets, 41 of them were neutralized by our defense. The armed forces do everything possible to protect our citizens. Zalukhny warns that the attack is still ongoing. According to the Ministry of Defense, the Russian Federation also carried out strikes using 17 Shahin-type UAVs from the territories of Belarus and Crimea. Update. Right, the Air Forces of Ukraine reported that a total of 83 missiles flew over Ukraine as of 11:40 a.m. More than 45 missiles were shot down. Background. In a third wave of shelling on 10 October, Russian occupiers launched 47 missiles at Ukraine, said head of Mykolaiv Oblast Vitaly Kim. Well, and it's more to come. Unfortunately, it's more to come. The Russians said that Dmitry Medvedev, former president of the Russian Federation, said that this is just the first round. Well, first round, and this confirms my statements that I made numerous ones in the past, that this war is a controlled war. It's a limited war. So as I stated on numerous occasions, limited war. And why was that? Because the Russians could have done this and more for the entire 7 months of the war in Ukraine. But they didn't. The Ukrainians probably, and I'm certain, that they could have done a lot of damage within Russia, within the territory of Russia, and they didn't. They can also hit targets in Belarus, where, as a reminder, the Russians are hitting Ukraine from, which again, I think that's a weasel move. It's the same as, let's say, the Ukrainians are doing when they place their military in the residential areas, which they do, according to Amnesty International report. Remember that one about a month and a half ago? So it's weasel moves the same way. You are placing yourself under the civilian protection and expect that you should not be hit. Now the Russian says, do not hit our territory, but we can hit you from our territory. What is that? I can shoot at you, but you can't shoot at me. Now the Russians, obviously in a war, I'm not defending them or anything, I'm just saying it's normal in a war to have, as the Americans said in Yugoslavia, collateral damage. Remember when they blew out the Chinese embassy in Belgrade? Yeah, the Americans with their precision weapons. People died there, civilians, third party, not Serbs, not anybody else but Chinese. Okay? So collateral damage happened. Now, I'm 100% certain that Russians hit civilians, and I'm also 100% certain, for the same reason, that the Ukrainians might have hit, or they hit, civilians wherever they shelled Russian positions. So I'm not saying that doesn't happen. Could have been accidental, could have been, purposely done, but the one thing we know, the Kerch Bridge, the Crimean Bridge, that the Russians said, don't hit that one, because if you hit that one, we're going to unleash doomsday, as what's his name? I was about to say Mikhail Gorbachev. Dmitry Medvedev said. And they did. Now, the Russians say the Ukrainians did. We don't know, and we will never probably know, maybe in 20 years. The same as probably, as I mentioned before in another video, the Danish government and the Swedish government will say that it was the Russians blowing up Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, and we will never know. Why? Because they conducted the investigation and they have everything. The same with the Russians. This might have been organized by the Russians just fine, okay? That's one thing. Or could have been organized by a third party, not only the Ukrainians, which the Russians said the Ukrainians with foreign forces, foreign individuals participated in blowing that. And they say that Ukrainian security services planned, conducted, and benefited out of blowing up the Kerch Bridge. And the Russians told them, don't touch that. Well, they did. So, I don't know, Ukrainians, from my assessment, from what I saw, keep pushing things. They told them, don't hit Crimea, the Russians said. Well, as I said 2 minutes ago, right? What do you mean, don't hit Crimea? But you take off with your planes from Crimea and you drop stuff on us? It's fair game over there, the Ukrainians. Don't hit Crimea, it's a red line. Well, the Ukrainians crossed that red line at least 7 times. Remember, in Sevastopol, those airfields, that ammunition hub, and at least 7 times. 7. Pong. What did the Russians do? Oh, it's someone else, now we don't know yet, blah, 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 blah. Now what do you want with this one? I mean, this was clear over there. It's not like, oh my god, maybe it was a I don't know, from the sky fell I don't know, something, meteor or something. So, and they said, don't do it. They did it. I'm not saying it's fair what these guys are doing. Nothing is fair in a war, because you try to kill the other person, right? So you do anything that you can. And besides, you don't, let me see, just a second. I'm not going to shoot you right now. Let me just read the Geneva Convention first, okay? You can shoot if, okay, I think I can now. It doesn't work that way, right? And besides, when you're in a war, you have different kind of feelings that way override this. And, well, let me, hold on. So anyway, more to come, unfortunately. A lot of missiles, and we'll see if the Russians will continue to uphold their rating, consistency rating, what they say and what they do. They have a very high one, unfortunately, in good times and in bad times, or actions. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.